Imagine finding a naked man dead with a cable around his neck, then discovering a mother and two children without heads. Was the father really the killer? Or is there a dark secret no one noticed? Stay until the end to find out. On the morning of May 21st, 1989, specifically in the Gojongdong area in South Korea, a citizen named Lee went up to the roof of the building where he lived to fix his home's water tank. While he was going up the stairs, he was shocked to find the body of a person lying on the stairs of the second floor. A television antenna cable was wrapped around the person's neck, and the person was naked. At the same time, Lee smelled a very strong burning smell. When he tried to follow it and see where it was coming from, he discovered that it was coming from his neighbor's apartment on the same floor, the second floor where he saw the body. When he entered the apartment where the smoke was coming from, he saw that the source of the smoke was a burning blanket, and next to the blanket, there was also a mother and her two children, unfortunately dead. And if you ask how he knew they were dead from the moment he saw them, maybe they were just unconscious. From the smoke, for example, that was impossible because their heads had been cut off and placed in the corner. The scene was very terrifying and extremely shocking for everyone, even for the police who arrived at the place to investigate the case. After a short investigation, they discovered that the person who was lying on the stairs was from the same family as the people in the apartment, and most likely he was the father. After some more investigations, they found out that the person who was on the stairs was named Yoon Joo-in, and he was 30 years old. And he really was the father of the two children, whose ages were 8 for the older one and 6 for the younger one. The condition of the house was very, very bad. The house was destroyed based on the condition of the house and the condition of the children and the mother. It was clear that what had happened was not an accident, but was done by someone on purpose. The first person they suspected was the father, who was dead but was outside the house. Most people were not convinced. Why would a father kill his wife and children? And also, he himself was dead, so who killed him? When the police started analyzing the bodies, they saw that the children and the mother were wearing pajamas, which means they were most likely sleeping when the incident happened. There were also many wounds all over their bodies, in addition to the cut-off heads, which were also badly disfigured. At that time, the police started looking into the father's file because they were suspicious of him. And when they found out that he had a criminal record from before, the suspicion increased even more. Because 2 months before this incident, he had been in prison on a charge of assault, and he was released on May 1st, which means 20 days before the incident. And the deeper they went into researching him, the more the suspicions about him increased. Because according to what the neighbors said, they would say that every night he would fight with his wife, and their voices would fill the neighborhood. Of course, his wife, in quotation marks. Why in quotation marks? Because these two people had been in a relationship with each other for 10 years, meaning since 1979, and they had been living together all that time and had children even though they were not officially married, and they did not register their marriage officially until 1986, which means 3 years before the incident. The neighbors also said that he was very jealous of her to the point that he was ready to start a problem over anything his wife did. The problem the police were facing was that the husband, who was the only suspect, was dead, so they could not interrogate him, and there was no way to get more information about the case. One thing the police noticed during the investigation was that during the 1980s, drugs were very widespread in the area where they lived, and most of the crimes that happened were because of drugs, because simply the criminals would lose their minds and do whatever they wanted without realizing it. So they came up with a theory that the father might have been using drugs, and suddenly, while out of his mind, he came home, committed his crime, and then killed himself. To make sure of this, they sent the father's body to the hospital to analyze it and see if there were traces of drugs in his body or not, and indeed, drugs were found in his body. Based on this, the police assumed that the father came back home while he was under the influence, and a fight started between him and his wife because of that. The father lost his mind, took a knife from the kitchen, and did what he did to them, and then went out and strangled himself with the cable. All of this because he was under the influence of drugs. And since he was the only suspect and he was dead, the case was closed on this basis. And they could not do anything or prosecute anyone for the crime that happened, because in short, the criminal was dead. The creepypasta. Jeff lived in a poor area in Mexico and lived with his family in a small house. He had a sister named Mary and a brother named Jimmy. His mother stayed at home and did not work, and his father worked as a blacksmith. Jeff was extremely introverted. He hated interacting or talking with anyone, and anyone who tried to get close to him or talk to him would be beaten and pushed away. When he turned 17, his grades became very bad at school, and not only his grades, but also his behavior deteriorated because he became addicted to alcohol and drugs. For these reasons, Jeff left school and went to work in a supermarket to cover his own expenses. He was very depressed during this period because of these issues. When he turned 18, his family found out that Jeff was addicted, so they took his money and started monitoring and controlling him very strictly. His condition became very miserable because he was an addict, and when an addict is suddenly deprived of what they are addicted to, they experience many psychological and physical disorders. His condition was very bad because his family did not allow him to leave the house. One day, Jeff had a seizure-like episode or something similar. His body convulsed violently, and he started seeing and imagining many strange things, experiencing hallucinations. It was on that night that Jeff had this episode. He woke up in the middle of the night. He went to the kitchen, took the largest knife they had, and proceeded to his parents' room, stabbing them until they died. After that, he left their room and went to his brother Jimmy's room. Meanwhile, his sister Mary was hearing the noises and commotion but didn't know where they were coming from. She got out of her room and went to the kitchen to drink some water. When she entered the kitchen, the first thing she noticed was that the door was open, and the largest knife was not in its place. She drank the water and was about to go back to her room when she turned around and saw Jeff behind her, holding the knife covered in blood, smiling a very wide grin. Jeff asked her, "Do you want to sleep?" After Jeff finished killing all his family, he ran away from the house and went to hide in an abandoned house because he was tired and wanted to rest. Of course, the police were searching for him, and indeed after a short time, the police were able to catch him. After 2 days in the hospital, a nurse came to bring him a meal so he could eat. When Jeff saw the nurse, he pretended to be asleep until she came close to him. Then he jumped off the mattress and tried to kill the nurse. But of course, a nurse in a mental hospital, dealing with someone in Jeff's condition, would definitely have taken the necessary precautions. Indeed, the nurse had acid in her pocket that she used in emergency situations. This acid was diluted a little, not very strong, meaning it wouldn't burn to a deadly degree, but it would burn a little. They made it this way so they could sedate the patient or restrain him in emergency situations. She sprayed the acid on his face, and his face was burned and his features were ruined. But after a struggle and pushing between him and the nurse, he managed to get out of the room and escape from the hospital. When Jeff escaped from the hospital, he would go to cemeteries and behave in strange ways.